It's $1 billion industry and it makes up a third of the seafood we eat, but it could all be brought down by one endangered fish.
My government supports jobs. We support regional economic development.
I want to see next generations of Tasmanians employed.
1/3 of Australian seafood is Tasmanian salmon.
If you've picked up a pack of salmon at the supermarket, it's more than likely from Tasmania. Our island state's responsible for 90% of our Atlantic salmon production.
It's one of Tassie's great success stories. It's an industry that was pioneered 40 years ago.
An industry worth $1 billion.
If anything happens to that industry, it will decimate Strawn and, well, the West Coast as well.
It's an industry which, right now, has our politicians on tenterhooks.
What you can't see is what's happening below the surface.
Fish farms out now!
Right across the country, the number one issue for years now has been the cost of living. For something to come along and knock that off the top of the perch in the economic environment we have, with bills so hard to pay, that's how you know this is important.
The tiny town of Strawn is a jewel of Tasmania's west coast. It's steeped in history, survives on tourism and salmon farming.
It's a seaside village, very remote. You were looking at around the 300-400 people. We've had Prince Charles, when he was the prince, he came, him and Lady Di.
But before Christmas, it was the Prime Minister and the opposition leader who kept calling it home. Shane Peart is the local mayor.
Been a busy time, that's for sure.
And it's all because of what's happening in the water which surrounds it, Macquarie Harbour.
It's 6 times the size of Sydney Harbour, and inside this harbour lives an animal that is found nowhere else on the planet, and that is the Maugean skate.
The Maugean skate. If you've never heard of it, you're not alone. Everyone can agree on one thing: it's under threat.
It is a living dinosaur, and wouldn't it be just a shame and an embarrassment if we send it off the face of the earth forever, simply for the greed of a few multinational corporations farming salmon?
The Environment Minister, Tanya Plibersek, has to decide whether to save the Maugean skate and kill off a big chunk of Tassie's salmon farming industry. Greens political aspirant Alastair Allen is from the Bob Brown Foundation.
This is an industry that comes in, destroys a waterway, and leaves nothing but a wreckage behind it.
When you've got a very professional, well-resourced, well-funded activist organisation in Tasmania who need to create noise, need to raise funds, need to put forward their candidates for elected office, they look for hot-button issues to press, and Maugean skate and salmon has become that issue this time around.
Salmon Tasmania says farming takes up just 2% of Macquarie Harbour. But critics say it's the reason the Maugean skate is suffocating.
The impact that the salmon has on the harbour is around oxygen, and the oxygen levels in the harbour have, over the last decade, reached critically low levels. And again, we're not the only reason of that, but we are a factor.
Millions of dollars has been spent on improving oxygen levels in the harbour. The industry's efforts supported by both sides of government, but the issue has turned political. Luke Martin is CEO of Salmon Tasmania.
Of course, the activists will never accept that'll work. They've got one agenda here, and that's to shut the industry down and destroy the jobs and destroy the community and have a big win. And then they'll just move on to the next site. That's the way they operate.
But the government is seemingly struggling to make a decision on who's more important.
And that's the big challenge. How much do Australians value an animal they don't know? What they do know is Aussie salmon.
Nine's political editor, Charles Croucher, says Labor needs the votes, but it also might need the Greens.
Tassie can flip an election. Back in 2004, the issue of logging in Tasmania was one of the big issues and the first indication that John Howard was in for a good night. Anthony Albanese will remember that time, and he doesn't want to see history repeating this time around.
It's hanging over the heads of these guys, workers down there at Strawn, and their future is in the balance every day they wake up.
One of those workers is maintenance manager and salmon farmer at Tassal, Adam Saltmarsh. He joined me a little earlier, as well as Bob Brown from the Bob Brown Foundation, who's fighting to save the skate. Adam, I want to chat to you first. How's all this job uncertainty affecting you?
Yeah, well, look, it's sitting pretty hard on everybody in the community, really. Like, you know, we've just come through Christmas, trying to get the family together, have a good time, and then, you know, not know whether we're going to have another one down here, I guess. So it's a bit daunting. You know, we're a single income family ourselves, so, you know, mortgages need to be paid, bills have to be paid, and, you know, food in mouths and clothes on kids' backs. It's a bit of a worry, and, you know, you try to keep positive and push on, but, you know, it sits in the back of your mind.
So what would you say would happen to the town if the salmon farm had to shut down?
If it was to shut down, you know, the school would have to shut down. It's not feasible to run, you know, with 10 to 15 kids at a school. So then you're looking at, you know, ages of primary, you know, kinder-aged children at the age of 4 travelling to Queenstown for an hour on a bus. And people would just move away. They wouldn't stay here. You wouldn't send your little child through that.
Look, no one wants to see any animal become extinct. What do you think about the arguments on the other side? Can you see the point?
Yeah, look, we don't want the animal to go extinct either. Like, you know, we're doing everything in our best practice to help the skate, you know, so we can both coexist in the harbour. We've implemented an oxygenation program to, you know, keep that going. But, you know, the harbour is the healthiest it's been in years.
Is there more that the industry could be doing?
There's probably a lot more that everyone could be doing. I mean, the industry seems to be the only people that are doing anything.
How tough is the salmon industry, though, on the local environment? It's not perfect.
Well, nothing's perfect, you know. But, yeah, it's nowhere near as bad as what the bureaucrats and that try to make us out to be.
It's become a bit of a political issue too, and I know that you had the ear of the Prime Minister last year. I mean, what did you say and what kind of feedback did you get?
You know, we just want a decision. We're sick of being stuck in limbo of whether we're going to have a job or whether we're not going to have a job. Like, you know, we've all got bills to pay and a life to live, and we just want an answer. I just said, like, you know, if, say, tomorrow we found a Maugean skate or a red handfish in Circular Quay, would we shut the ferries down?
And what did he say?
Well, of course we wouldn't. You know, that's just silly.
So what's the compromise here? What do you see? Like, obviously, there's a lot of people who are very unhappy about salmon farming. Is there a compromise that the industry could make?
I think it'd be good for people to actually come and look at the industry and look at the harbour and actually see how small of an operation it is on the water. You know, we're 7 times the size of Sydney Harbour, and we take up less than sort of 3% of the actual waterway.
We do feel for you, Adam. It must be hard living day to day, not being certain of the future. We'll leave it there with you. Thank you. And let's go to Bob now. Bob, a lot of viewers will see this as one fish, the skate being more important than a whole community. What's your response to that and to what Adam's had to say?
I don't have any tussle with Adam and his concerns. My tussle is with the Cook family, multi-billionaires in Canada, who own and call the shots here. And, you know, they aren't concerned about jobs. In fact, big industries like them will get rid of jobs at any moment they can get automation. They couldn't care less. And they're up for polluting the environment in Canada. They've been fined hundreds of thousands of dollars for illegally poisoning the water, killing crayfish. They're marauders, and now they're installed and they're in control, and this is being run by people who couldn't care less about Strawn, its school, its environment, its tourism industry. They're interested in making money and repatriating that to Canada. And of course, over in Storm Bay in Tasmania, where just south of Hobart, where the fish farms are putting more fish feces into the water, killing the ecosystems underneath, than the whole of the population of Hobart, which has to tertiary treat its feces. That's not done by this industry. It simply dumps it into our oceans. That's not good enough.
So is it really about the Maugean skate for you, or is the skate a wedge for you to shut down the industry?
No. We want the industry brought ashore, as they're doing in Canada, under law now, and in Norway, and elsewhere in the world. I'm proposing that we have a Maugean skate centre with creating jobs and show tourism. What an ancient, this is, you know, it goes back to the age of the dinosaurs. It's a fantastic, unique, it's only found in Macquarie Harbour. It's another tourism attraction, and now it's threatened by this deadly polluting industry.
If they can build the salmon farm on land, then they'll do it anywhere but Tasmania, surely. Do you think that they will continue to have that industry in Strawn if they have to bring it on shore?
They don't care about Tasmania. They'll do it where they can make a profit.
Is there a compromise which would keep the industry in Strawn, that they could do something more environmentally friendly in the harbour?
Well, I put forward the idea of the visitor centre to show off the skate so people could see it and to talk about it, what a marvellous thing it is. Fallen on deaf ears.
Well, I don't think people are going to fly to Tasmania to look at a fish.
You'll come to Strawn to see the Gordon River, and then you'll want to see some of the other attractions that are there. But you're dead right. Nobody's coming to Tasmania to look at those fish farms. They turn them off.
How confident are you that you'll have any success with this, given that it's an election year and the Tasmanian vote can have some power?
It's going to be very, very interesting. These big industries might have the current politicians in their thrall, but people are concerned about the lack of environmental probity and fair go. And there's going to be a record vote away from the big parties at the coming election. And Albo can fly down to look after his mates, the corporate mates running this polluting fish industry, but he's going to be a loser at the end of this because of that.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Bob and Adam.
Thanks, Lila.
Thank you.